Good day, sir. I am Midshipman Sabanal Daniel M. Together with my partner Midshipman Santiago Steven Ricky. We are from ES4A to Lab B. And on this video, we will discuss about the practical exercise number 2, which discuss the rotary vane pump. This include three tasks: definition, parts and function, and then lastly, disassembly and assembly. So what are we waiting for? Let's start. So first, what is a rotary vane pump? Basically, rotary vane pump is a positive displacement pump that consists of vanes mounted to a rotor that rotates inside a cavity. However, these vanes can have a variable length and be tensioned to maintain contact with the walls as the pump rotates.
Good day, I'm Midshipman Stephen Rick A. Santiago from ES3A2. So, my part here is let's just gonna be discussing about the parts and functions of rotary vane pump. So, let's get through it. So, the first part is vane. So, what does a vane do? So, it fits within the slots of the impeller. So, as the rotor rotates and the fluid enters the pump through centrifugal force or hydraulic pressure, it push the vanes to the walls of the housing. So then next is the rotor. So the rotor rotates according to the rotation of the shaft. So it has multiple vanes. When the rotor rotates, it creates a vacuum inside the pump due to that pump sucks fluid. So then we have the casing. So the casing is the outer covering of the vane pump. So all other components of the vane pump are present inside this casing. So there are two ports in the casing, the inlet port. So the fluid enters the pump through this inlet port. So then next we have the outlet port. So high pressure fluids leave the pump through the outlet port. So then we have the shaft. So there is a shaft inside the vane pump which is connected to a prime mover. So a rotor is mounted on the shaft and it rotates using the power of the prime mover. The next we have the sliding vanes. So the sliding vanes are present in the slots of the rotor. So the sliding vanes move inside the slots of the rotor freely. So the sliding vanes are of a rectangular shape and are attached with the rotor using a spring. And last we have the camering. So camering is present in at the outer wall of the casing. And that's all for to me. Again, I'm Steven Ricky A. Santiago from ES482.
The last part is the disassembly and assembly of the rotary vane pump. But first, we should make sure that we have enough spare parts, especially the consumables like air filter, O-rings, vanes, and etc. And we should make sure that the tools and equipment are ready for the overhauling. Also, we should not forget that uh, wear the proper protective equipment or PPE on ourselves. So let's start. So again, this is the rotary vane pump. So every pump has a different configuration of air filters depending who is the manufacturer of each pump. So as we can see, that is the air filter of the rotary vane pump. That's the outlet air filter. Before we start the disassembly of the pump, we should take off the air filter. It's the inlet air filter. Remove the top air filter also. Then loosen and remove the bolts of the muffler side of the pump. Then tap it with a rubber mallet. Nice. That's the chamber of the pump, the inlet, the right side, and then the left side is the outlet chamber. Remove the bolt of the front plate. Tap it with rubber mallet. That's the front plate. Then remove the cover. And now we can see the vanes and the rotor. Then that is the vane, the tapered end of the vane, angled taper vane. So that is the end of the vane which is tapered. It should move easily or freely from the rotor. Now remove the vanes, the old vanes. That's the housing of the pump. So that's the inlet and then the outlet of the pump. And now we can see the clearance between the housing and the rotor. It is very minimal, but the rotor moves freely. Clean the housing before we install and the rotary that the vane will be attached, or the slat of the vane at the rotary. It should be moved like that, falling easily or freely at each slat. Now put back the new vanes of the rotor. We should make sure that the direction of the tapered was same as before we disassembled the old vanes. So that we can now ensure the efficiency of the pump if we follow the proper installment of the vanes of each tapered. It should move freely when we rotate it. Put back the cover of the pump. Tap it with a rubber mallet. Then put back the front plate. Also, we can see that it has a gasket called shim gasket. Put back the bolt and tighten them with a cross pattern or star pattern. We should not over tight or under tight the bolt. When we over tight it, it can damage the vanes and the motor, the efficiency of the motor. But when we under tight them, it will come loose. So use a torque wrench on when we tightening it. So turn on the motor when we tightening it and make sure that the sound of the motor will not change when we are tightening the bolts of the front plate. Now turn on the motor. Then tighten the bolt in a cross pattern. Then when we stop the motor, the rotor should not stop uh, quickly. It should move freely, or there's a free wheel on the rotor before we can say that the tightness of the bolt are good enough. After that, we can now put back the muffler side of the pump and put back on its bolt. Then tighten them. Get the new air filter and the O-rings also, and put back on its place in the inlet. Also the outlet air filter, the top air filter. After that, we should check the amperes of the motor. It should meet the amperes that indicated on the motor plate. So that there, take one piece of wire and then attach the ampere meter or clamp meter. There we go. We met the amperes that should be in the motor. We should we can now say that the rebuild or overhauling the rotary vane pump is now complete.